The athletes then for the second Women's European Cross Country Championship, starting down by the River Aln, just below the castle of Alnwick. And as I was saying earlier on, a very, very open women's race indeed this. Amongst the favourites, perhaps Annemari Sandell, the reigning World Junior Cross Country Champion from Finland. She lifted that title just a few miles down the road in Durham in March this year. Zilyayeva of Russia is here. She was 4th last year. Fedotov of Romania is back. She's in very good form, was 3rd last year, and indeed she led her team to the gold medals last year in the team's race. Only 3 women to score in this event. That's the French team there in the starting pen. Very strong one, that.
The athletes spread right across the course. The starter,
and it's Saint-Jean-Paloy there from France, as a former double world cross-country champion. The Portuguese squad, always strong. Sacramento took a medal over 1,500 meters at the World Championships last year, or earlier on this year rather, in Gothenburg. She might find this rather a long way, 4.5 kilometers. Although a lot of the top women have been saying they feel it is too short, this, for them. They're distance runners. 4.5 kilometers isn't very far. They feel it should be 6 kilometers. There's the British squad. 5 of them, 3 to score. Jane Shields is actually now a team manager of the British junior team. 62 there. Lucy Elliott, 29-year-old from Shaftesbury Barnet Harriers, in very good form, a former 400-meter hurdler. She should be comfortable at least with the early pace. But because it's 4.5 kilometers, there tends to be very, very little tactics in this women's race. It's hard and fast from the word go. The Russians too have a very strong squad indeed. Panchukova in their squad was 6th in the Gothenburg 5,000 meters. There's Sarah Vedlund, just gone out of picture there, running for Sweden. Perhaps the best known athlete in Sweden at the moment. Only a youngster. The Romanians there in the red and yellow. Very strong squad. The gold medal winners from last year, and every chance of retaining that team gold for this year. Last year's race was a real cracker between McKiernan and Vaquero. Can we have the same again? Tense moment here for these women on the start line. They start with about 400 or 600 meters of flat, fast running before turning right and running on the hills on this clockwise circuit. And believe me, it is a very, very tough circuit. They've got to run 2 laps and then the run in to the finish. 4.5 kilometers.
And we're away, the Weetabix European Championships for 1995.
So conditions just about ideal for cross-country running. As you can see, a slight mist surrounding the valley of the River Aln, but no wind at all. It's very, very still indeed. There's hardly a ripple on the water surface of the river. Going is not firm underfoot. Of course, there's been quite a lot of rain. That ground is pretty soggy, but it's not so bad that they'll be running through a quagmire, and you can expect some very, very fast running on this flat stretch and on the downhill sections of the race. It really is quite a magnificent setting. Alnwick Castle, truly beautiful, and as I understand it, has actually been used as a set for an awful lot of films over the last few years. Last year there were a few problems at the start of this women's race. The leading group of women was led off course by a TV camera vehicle. Happy to see that that has not happened this year. And indeed, the early leader is amongst the favourites. That's Jelena Fedotov of Romania in the headband with the red and yellow vest. Nothing crazy about this pace just yet, though. Nobody's let the adrenaline rush through the system too fast. You can see Vedlund there to the right, the little Swede in the blue shorts and yellow vest with the long sleeves. It's not particularly cold, but Negura there in second place, another Romanian, finding gloves necessary. And already all the big names up there, certainly several of them. Annemari Sandell there in the light blue of Finland. Let's check their form on this first hill. Very, very steep climb indeed, this. If you drive hard up it, you're only running up it for about 15 seconds, but because you turn a bend before heading up the hill. You don't really get the chance to build up much momentum. Now a long downhill stretch back down onto the flat fields by the river. Well, look at that Romanian packing. 5 in 7 there by the Romanians. That's a strip, unmistakable, dominating the front of this field, which is beginning to stretch out now. That hill on this first of just 2 laps already sorting them out. Number 2 they're moving through is Daniels of Belgium. This is a difficult section. They're running across the side of the hill, if you like, here. Very difficult underfoot. You can see several athletes slipping to their right there, to the left of picture. That was Vedlund and Negura, I think. And even Sandell losing her footing a little bit. As Daniels hits the front now for Belgium for the first time. But nobody prepared to give quarter. They're still spread 5 across the front. 3:19 at 1 kilometre, so the pace quite healthy. British vests up there too. No sign just yet of Vaquero, the silver medalist from last year, who looked like she was going to win it until there was a desperate sprint in the last couple of 100 metres from McKiernan. Of course, it's very, very early on in the cross-country season. Traditionally, it begins to pick up momentum domestically in most countries in November and December, and then the international circuit takes on its full force in the months after Christmas, January, February, March, with the World Cross Country in late March. So a lot of athletes won't have recovered from their summer yet. They won't be in their best form. Indeed, there are quite a few significant absentees from this race, from the world of women's distance running, notably Ribeiro of Portugal, who was 6th last year, was hoping to run here, but has had to drop out with flu. She's the reigning European and world 10,000 metres champion, and may well have started here as favourite, but she's sidelined. McKiernan herself has that cartilage injury to one knee. Paula Radcliffe of Britain is choosing to concentrate on her studies and her preparation for the World Cross Country and the Olympic Games next year. And Szabo of Romania is another big, big talent who has decided to give herself slightly longer to prepare for next year's events. Now that's Sandell of Finland, who's pushed through to the front there, and she's beginning to stretch them out. Very interesting athlete, Sandell, still only a youngster, 18 years old, but she was 8th in Gothenburg at the World Championships over 10,000. in a new European junior record. And as I said, she is the reigning world junior cross-country champion, quite capable of handling herself at this level. 64 there for Great Britain. That's Liz Talbot, has moved up beside Sandell. I just hope Talbot is saving something there, holding back maybe a little bit for the second lap of this race. She's only 20 years old, the youngster from Bedford. Same club, funnily enough, as Paula Radcliffe. Indeed, we understand she's learned a great deal from Paula Radcliffe. They're great friends. But it's always difficult. It takes experience to gauge the spread of your effort throughout these races. 173 there is Sara Vedlund of Sweden. So it's the two Scandinavian youngsters at the moment up there at the front. She's only 19 herself, Vedlund, so we've got an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old leading this race. And indeed, Liz Talbot, the 20-year-old for Britain there in third place. Vedlund there to the right had a marvellous race over 5,000 metres last year in Helsinki. Grand Prix meeting there on the track, where she proved that her recovery from anorexia, which affected her in her mid-teens, is complete. And she's certainly moving very, very strongly indeed here. Several of the more experienced big names perhaps hanging back just behind this leading trio, biding their time. Certainly the Romanians still very much up there. 1-2-1 there in the green to the left. That's Dias of Portugal. Portuguese traditionally very, very strong in distance running and in cross country. But there's no doubt about it, these two are pushing on hard now and really making the rest of them work to stay in touch. Gaps beginning to appear. Liz Talbot still hanging on to third. Sandell and Vedlund, both very, very slightly built, skipping across the surface, not driving hard up that hill, but moving up it very, very efficiently. Vidartov in third, Liz Talbot in fourth. Daniels, I think, of Belgium in sixth. There are none of the Romanians it was in fifth. This is the difficult section underfoot. You may have seen Vedlund just then go over on her ankle a little bit, but she doesn't seem to have affected her. Olteanu is the Romanian there, 1-3-4, back in fourth or fifth place. Liz Talbot beginning to lose a little ground now, but the whole field are losing ground on this pair up in front. Marvellous running by these two. Whether or not this was planned, I don't know. But they do seem to be dragging each other along and away from the rest. And that gap is becoming significant. Anybody wants to catch these two, they're going to have to start making inroads now on Annemari Sandell and Sara Vedlund. So 1 lap to go now, with 8 minutes on the clock, and that gap is growing with every stride. In fact, Sandell, just checking over her shoulder there to have a look at Vedlund, realises, I think, that now is her chance to take the initiative. Always good psychologically when you know that you're on the last lap. You're passing every point on the course for the final time. It's a bit like being in the last lap in a track race. So Vidartov leads the chase then behind the pair from Scandinavia, but the gold and silver medals beginning to look decided. Stay with us. Welcome back, and that's Sara Vedlund of Sweden going through in second place as Sandell has broken away over the last couple of minutes. Has a huge gap now, not only over Vedlund but over the rest of Europe's best cross-country runners. Vidartov goes through in third. She's having a real battle for the bronze medal there with Sinead Delahunty, the 24-year-old Irish girl who won the New York Road Mile back in September. That was Vaquero went through just there for Spain in about 10th place. And you can see how this hard running over the last couple of kilometres has torn this field apart, reduced them to single file. It was all getting a little too comfortable for the first 1,500 metres or so of this race. And Sandell didn't wait too long before showing the others her real class. Those are big gaps. This is Vidartov and Delahunty battling out for third. They've got, what, about 25 metres over Daniels of Belgium. Vidartov was third last year. Whether or not she'd be happy with another third place in 1995 remains to be seen, but I think there's little doubt already over who is going to take gold here. Quite the opposite of last year, which was a marvellous race to the tape between McKiernan of Ireland and Vaquero of Spain. This is one of the great talents of European distance running. Certainly the Africans don't dominate world distance running on the female side of things as they do in the men's. But Sandell, we may be looking at a future world senior champion. She's already, remember, a world champion as a junior at cross country, and she's showing us exactly why here with this dominance of this race. There's Vedlund, so frail, with a great power to weight ratio. And look at Sandell. Not really good use of the arms there, not driving hard up this hill, but doing just enough. And her form on the flatter sections of the course has been very, very good. She's got a deceptively long, raking stride. There's Vidartov and Delahunty in third and fourth. And I think one of the Spaniards there has moved through into fifth place as the chase is on. Still Liz Talbot leading the British challenge there, back in about 8th or 9th place. I think that's one of the Russians, in fact, Belikova, back in 5th place. Nina Belikova, 1:42. Still in the hunt for the medals. Vedlund here on the long downhill drag towards the finish now. Surely is going to take the silver medal. Vidartov here has got a battle on her hands, though, against Belikova. It's Romania against Russia. for the bronze medal. Certainly Fidatov has the credentials to win the sprint. She's a world-class 1500 meter runner. Many years ago, back in 1986, she ran 4:03 for 1500 meters. And that is bad news for Belikova. But this surely is the new European senior cross-country champion. Annemari Sandell, still only 18 years old. She's she's a junior throughout the rest of this year and next year as well. But that is a marvellous run from her. She'll have the choice in March of contesting the junior or senior world cross-country, but no doubting the fact that this year she's opted for a senior title and she's taken it thankfully. Annemari Sandell, 13:52 is all it took her to win the 1995 European cross-country championships. Sara Vedlund taking a silver medal. That's a very significant step forward in her young career. Great run from her. And look at this, Fidatov loses out for the bronze medal to the Russian Belikova there. Fidatov finishing 1 place lower than last year. Sargent goes through, Delahunty finishing in 6th, I think there. Liz Talbot perhaps in 8th place. That's a great run from her. Behind 1-2-1 there, Diaz of Portugal, Negura there in around 10th. The Belgian vests very prominent there. They've done well in the team race. Certainly British vests a bit thin on the ground at the moment, although I can see Lucy Elliott go through on the far side there, 62. As you may have heard the commentator on site say, the public address, Jane Shields coming through there. Only 3 to score, so each individual position very, very important indeed, more so perhaps than if it was 5 or 6 to score situation. But Sandell winning from Vedlund and Belikova. Those are the medalists in this year's European cross-country championships.
Here comes one of Ireland's finishers here, number 74, Maureen Harrington, who was 28 last year. Here
well, certainly Sandell had the measure of that field. Her training going very, very well indeed, considering it's early in the winter. Long time yet till the World Cross Country Championships, and then of course Atlanta, the Olympic Games next year in the USA. The major target for most people in 1996 is many months away, but Sandell looked very, very sharp indeed there. Mike Kosgei, of former Kenyan national coach, has been coaching for the Finnish Federation for the last few months. He was fired in a dispute over the way the athletes were being treated in Kenya. He was fired by the Kenyan Federation, was snapped up by the Finnish Federation. Exactly how much he's had to do with Sandell's preparations, I don't know, but she has been training in Kenya. She trained there last year, preparing for the World Cross Country Championships, and ironically won the title in Durham in March earlier on this year, ahead of a clutch of young Kenyans who had been her training partners back in Kenya. So a little bit of that Kenyan Rift Valley magic perhaps rubbing off on the Scandinavians. Certainly they can be very, very pleased with the gold and silver today from Annemari Sandell, winning by a big margin, mind you. Some 15 seconds there ahead of Vedlund of Sweden. An 18-year-old from a 19-year-old, Nina Belikova there of Russia. Perhaps a surprise bronze medalist, but a very, very good run from her nonetheless. In fact, that sprint with Fidatov taking her within just 2 seconds of the silver.
In the European Championships last year, where of course Portugal won a bronze medal in the team trophy, and finally in 10th place.
Well, we have a 10-minute gap between the women's race and the men's race. The men racing over 9 kilometers, twice the distance of the women. It was very, very short indeed, wasn't it? Perhaps just as well for the opposition when you see Sandell's winning margin. That's a huge winning margin after less than 14 minutes of running for her.
Annemari Sandell vastaanottaa Euroopan yleisurheiluliiton puheenjohtajalta Karl-Olof Homenilta kultamitalia naisten Euroopan mestaruuden merkiksi. Sara Vedlund, 19-vuotias ruotsalainen, on toisena. Ja kolmantena, hieman ehkä yllättäen, Nina Belikova, Venäjä. Hänen ei pitänyt olla Venäjän joukkueen kaikkein kovin.
Ensiksi Annemari, onneksi olkoon. Kertoisitko itse nyt tuosta juoksusta? Se ainakin näytti helpolta.
Joo, se tuntuikin tosi helpolta. Että mä vähän siinä alussa ihmettelin, että mä en oikein uskaltanut sillä lähteä, että siinä ei se voinut lähteä. Ja sitten se ero tuli sillä aika helposti, että en mä oikeastaan kokenut, että mä sillä lisäsin vauhtia. Että rennosti vaan annoin mennä, niin se tuli.
No mistä uskoit etukäteen kaikkein kovimman vastuksen tulevan?
No mä ajattelin kyllä, että just Saara, että se tulee varmaan olemaan todella kova. Ja melkein just sitä ja myöskin Romania ja Espanja.
No Saaran kanssa kävit sitten kovan kaksintaistelun. Miltä tuntui, kun havaitsit, että Saara alkaa jäädä?
No tosi hienoa jotenkin. Että ei se silloin mä en sitä ajatellut vielä, että se varmaan on mitään, mutta mä annoin vaan mennä, niin rennosti, niin sitten se ero tuli siinä ihan itse.
No, olet vasta 18-vuotias ja vuosia on vaikka kuinka paljon edessä. Oletko sä yhtään miettinyt tulevaisuutta, että ovatko ne radalla ne vuodet vai ovatko ne mahdollisesti maantiellä maratonilla?
No, kyllä nyt ainakin vielä on radalla sillä ja keväällä sitten maastot, mutta varmaan sitten myöhemmin, jos se maraton tulee olemaan.
No miten sä jatkat tästä nyt eteenpäin? Millainen harjoittelukausi sinulla on edessä ennen sitten kevään kilpailuja?
No, mä menen joulukuun lopussa Portugaliin 8 viikoksi ja sitten helmikuussa Keniaan, niin sitten joku 6 viikkoa ehkä on siellä. Ja loput ajat sitten harjoittelen kotona.
No millä tavalla tuo siviilielämä, koulu ja muut asiat sujuvat?
No, kyllä ne siinä on mennyt ihan siinä mukana, että hyvä vastapaino on niin koulukin mun mielestä kuin on.
Ja ehdit harrastaa jotain muutakin vielä juoksun ja koulun lisäksi, eikö niin?
No kotona sillä eläintekaa ja ratsastanut, mutta en mun sillä muuta oikeastaan.
No ensi kesänähän ovat vuorossa sitten jo olympialaiset. Oletko niin pitkällä ajatellut, mikä se matka siellä tulisi olemaan?
No 5 tai 10 varmaan. Se katsotaan sitten mikä on tilanne kesällä, niin miten menee.
Mitäs mieltä olit Annemari juoksusta?
No se oli erittäin voimakasta menoa, mutta Annemarihan on aina ollut voimakas ja erittäin lahjakas maastojuoksija.
Millaisena näet hänen tulevaisuutensa? Mikä tulee olemaan hänen paras matkansa?
No, mä uskon, että hän on edelleen jatkossakin erittäin hyvä maastojuoksija ja sitten tulevaisuudessa varmaan maratonilla hän on kaikkein parhaimmillaan. Jos mä vertaan häntä esimerkiksi Ritva Lemettiseen, niin mä voisin siinä nähdä, että Annemarilla on erittäin hyvä ura tulevaisuudessa myös näillä pitemmillä matkoilla.
Missä vaiheessa harkitaan tuota siirtymää?
No ehkä joskus 4-5 vuoden päästä. Ensiksi vedetään rata homma valmiiksi, että katsotaan missä juoksijan rajat on radalla ja sitten sen jälkeen vasta siirrytään tälle kuninkuusmatkalle.